Life, as they say, is an adventure, which leads me to the question, who is they? Well, whoever they are, they also say that brevity is the soul of wit. Thanks for joining me in my game room. I'm Spencer, and after that short but witty introduction, I'm ready to tell you about Lost Ruins of Arnak, a game of adventure. Lost Ruins is for 1 to 4 players. Now this is a worker placement, deck building, and resource management game. If you have no idea what those terms mean, don't worry, I'm about to go all Dr. Jones up here and give you a lesson in archaeology, depicted in a board game. In the game, players go on a quest to learn Arnak's secrets. Whoever's expedition is the most successful wins. The game is made up of 5 rounds. In each round, players will take turns performing 1 action each. When a player can no longer take an action, or just chooses not to, they'll pass. The round continues until all players pass. After the 5th round, the game is over. Players will add their points from artifacts, idols, research, equipment, and a few other sources, and whoever has the most points wins. I want to quickly go over the available actions so you can get a sense of what kind of exploration-y things you can do. Now there's this handy player aid that's going to tell you everything that you can do on your turn, the setup for next round, this hire a pilot, travel hierarchy, and then on the back it's got a list of all the effects, the symbols, what they do, that kind of thing. It's extremely helpful, and I'm very thankful that they put it in the game. So one of the things you can do on your turn is to dig at a site, and you take one of your archaeologists here and put them at an available site like this. But you have to pay the travel cost to do that, and that'll come from your cards. This right here shows you need 1 boot to get there. You've got some cards that you start the game with, and you can use any of your travel for a boot. You can use any travel symbol to get there. So I just pay this card, and I can put my archaeologist there. Whenever you go to a site, you get to do whatever the action is at the bottom. So usually it's get some kind of resource. Then you can discover a new site. So in addition to paying the travel costs, you'll pay some exploration markers, and you'll get to reveal a new site. And wherever you put your worker there, let's say I put it here, you get to take this idol and discover a new site. That is now a site that other players, including yourself, can go to in future rounds. Whenever a new site is discovered, there's also a guardian that goes with it. This guardian is bad. If you, in the round there, and you have to remove your archaeologist, you'll have to get a fear card, which are these guys over here. They're going to count against you at the end of the game, and they also take up space in your hand. So you don't want those. That's why one of the actions available to you is to overcome a guardian. To do that, you look at this cost down here, you pay that, and then you get the guardian. It becomes your friend, basically. And you'll get 5 points for it at the end of the game. And it also provides a bonus up here in the corner, a one-time bonus that you can use. Another action you can do is to buy an item. Now, these are the items over here. This is the item deck. And the coin is the cost, and then the purple number is how many points they'll give you at the end of the game. And then, of course, they've got an effect. Now, every card has some kind of travel icon that it provides to you. So all cards can be used either for their ability or for their travel costs. So multi-use card thing going on there. Another action is to buy an artifact. Now these are the artifacts. This is the round marker, and at the end of each round it's going to travel over here. And what's going to happen is as the round progresses, you'll move this marker and you'll refill it with artifacts. So you'll end up having more artifacts on this side and fewer items on this side. It kind of represents the further you get into the island, the less access you have to your items, and more access, the more availability you're going to have on those artifacts. Another action is to play a card. Now, many cards have this symbol on them. This is a free action, basically. You can play it, it's done, it doesn't cost you an action. But then you'll have other cards like these that you get. This is activate any tent, any campsite down here, any dig site. So whenever there's an ability like that, that'll be an action to play that card, use its ability. Then there's research. This is the research track, and you've got a magnifying glass and a journal. Now you have to move your magnifying glass up first. You can do it step by step, but you can never move your journal past your magnifying glass. It's like, oh, you can't write down your notes until you actually discover them. So that's interesting. But to move up, you pay the cost between each section. You'll get things like research assistance, or items, or resources, or get to draw new cards, all kinds of good stuff. And finally, if you don't like any of those things or can't do any of those things, you just pass. I do want to show you one other thing. This is the main board. This is what they recommend you start with. But also on the other side, there's a different board. So the research track is a little bit different. There's a snake up here instead of a temple on the other side. As you get research assistants, you rescue them as you go up this track. There are also fear cards. On the other side, you don't get fear cards for going up, but as you get closer to this snake, you get more scared. So it's just a different way to play. Not a whole lot of difference, But again, just some variety there. All right, that should give you a pretty good idea of what's going on in the game. Now, I hope you didn't get lost. That would ruin the video. Wow, this game. First, it gets major points because it utilizes my two favorite mechanisms, worker placement and deck building. And I love the way that it's implemented. At first, you don't think you won't be able to do much because you only have 2 archaeologists, and you can't get any more. But then the cards you buy provide actions and other methods of doing the things you'd expect to use an archaeologist for. Add in some resource management and conversion, and you have no need for more archaeologists. You are able to do exactly what you need to with what you are given or have access to. I love the way deck building is implemented. It's unique. It's fascinating to me that the items you buy immediately go to the bottom of your deck, so you can know when they're coming up. And then with the artifacts, it's great to be able to use the ability immediately before it goes to the play area. The execution of all of the mechanisms in the game is fantastic. I find that there are many strategies to explore, many paths to follow. You can focus on dig sites, try to gain points from the cards you buy, go all in on defeating and befriending the Guardians, climb up the research track, or some sort of combination of all of those. It's the type of game I feel like I can play over and over again and still discover something exciting each time. It's a great looking game. The artwork is beautiful and evocative. It really captures the setting and time period. And the components are top notch. In some games you can buy upgraded components, but you don't need to do that here. The only thing you might add are metal coins. Now, some people might complain about the thinness of the cards. Personally, I appreciate it. Though you aren't shuffling a ton of cards, I think it's easier with these. And another thing people might not appreciate is the size of the board. Granted, it does take up a lot of space, especially when you add in that resource board. But I love that extra board. It looks so much nicer than making piles around the table. It's easier to find things when they have a dedicated place. The size of the board is necessary though. You need that space because of all the options you have in the game. Now, this is a Euro-style game where mechanisms are more prominent than the theme itself. Not to say that the game isn't thematic, it is. I feel like everything I do in the game makes sense thematically. But I wouldn't consider it immersive or story-driven. This is definitely more of a strategist game. But I don't think the complexity of the game is a barrier. Many types of gamers will enjoy this. The only issue I see is for people who are prone to analysis paralysis. Since there are so many options, they may get stuck trying to decide what to do. It works at all player counts. And one thing I really appreciate is that there aren't any major rules changes for lower player counts. At 2 and 3 players, you just cover up some of the action spaces. Everything else works the same. And I want to give major kudos because of the solo mode. In many games, I find the solo mode to be obtuse, unnecessarily complicated to comprehend. But this is perfect. It's streamlined, and most importantly, it's enjoyable. Now, CGE is planning on releasing a solo mode campaign, and I'm definitely looking forward to playing through that. Expect to dedicate about an hour to an hour and a half to your play. At 2 players, it's for sure an hour. With 3 and 4, it's going to fluctuate based on how easily players are able to make their decisions. But it definitely shouldn't take any longer than 2 hours. In conclusion, if Lost Ruins was a sandwich, it would be an amazing sandwich. Since it's a game though, it's an amazing game. It's got everything I enjoy. My favorite mechanisms, a cool theme, fantastic production quality, and so much under the bread to explore. This is easily my favorite game of 2020, though I haven't played all of them, obviously. I mean, I have a budget, a wife and kids who need my time, chores, and a life. I think Lost Ruins is going to be a favorite for many, many gamers. Final assessment. I give this game a 10 out of 10 and bestow it with the distinction of being lit. That's the highest honor a game can get from the Lighten Up initiative. Congrats, Lost Ruins of Arnak. You stole my heart. Until next time, don't take the board game hobby too seriously. Did you take offense when I suggested people who play a lot of games don't have a life? If you did, you just need to lighten up.